Hello, Eric Miskell with EMS Now, talking to you from the show floor at Apex 2026 at the Co-Young booth, celebrating St. Patrick's Day with all the green behind us. We thought it appropriate for this. He, of course, is Timon Ruban. He is one of the founders of Luminovo. Thanks for flying in just to speak to me today.
Just got in yesterday. Very happy to be here, and thanks for the invite.
No, absolutely. Well, I want to ask you, we were talking about this before, so let's just jump right in. What software do you think will survive and will be needed in an era of AI agents?
To answer that question, let me take you on a little journey of my own experience of using AI agents within Luminovo in the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
I mean, personally, by way of introduction, I run the whole product and engineering side of things at Luminovo. That means we have around like 30 software engineers and product managers that actually build the product.
Yeah.
And in software engineering, probably you've heard, that was one of the first areas of knowledge work where AI has had a huge impact. Because now I'm just, instead of coding all day, now you're just yapping with the AI all day to tell it what to do. And in software engineering, ever since last December, which is when Anthropic introduced the Opus 4.5 model. And so ever since that generation of AI models, there's really been an insane productivity boost in just coding. And so since I run that department, that's been the first like visible changes for us of like just how much faster we can ship features. We're a software company. So to some degree, that was great and fantastic news. But it also makes me think, okay, if building software becomes so easy and straightforward, then what is the reason for Luminovo still to exist? So I'll get to my take on what software survives. But to continue on my emotional journey, so coding was going really, really well. Trying to do the change management in our engineering teams to get more people to adopt it and be faster. And as I was talking to this AI all day and it was giving me such good replies, I was having more and more anxiety about the whole rest of our business, who are not engineers, all the marketing, customer success, salespeople, and how I can make sure that they also adopt better. And I started playing around specifically with one tool. A few months' time might be a different one, but right now I think the best one is Claude Cowork.
Okay.
You know about it? Or have you
I know Claude, not Cowork. I've used Claude before.
Yeah. So Claude launched a new, feels very similar to the chat interface. It's also just a chat interface, but they call it Cowork, which is a wrapper around Claude Code, which is the tool the software engineers use to code.
Okay.
But Cowork, just as code, is much, much better at making complex plans and processing multi-step workflows than just the chat interface. And that's why this Cowork thing is just much better if you have a very complex question.
Right.
And since I was coming from code and that was working great when they launched this Cowork thing, which is actually quite recent, I think 6 to 8 weeks ago, I was thinking, maybe let me check that out and see how our business users can also use Cowork to start to automate their workflow. And I started using it a little bit, and it absolutely blew my mind to the degree that we've now introduced it to everyone at Luminovo to give you some example use cases. And we'll get to electronics.
Okay.
Luminovo
I trust you.
eventually. But one use case is something like you're a customer success guy and you just finished a call with one of Luminovo's customer where you discussed different things, or you're in sales and you did the same thing. You could then go to Cowork, give it the whole transcript of the call that you did with your AI note taker, and ask it, hey, draft a follow-up email summarizing the next steps that we discussed in the call in Gmail so that I can send it out. Check if there's any product questions in the call that I couldn't answer. If so, search across Linear, Slack, and Notion. That's our internal like knowledge management tools. If anyone has answered a similar question before. If not, draft a Slack message in the right Slack channel so they can ask and fill in my knowledge gap. And also update these and these properties in HubSpot, our CRM, which they always have to do with our business and sales guy to like log all the interactions they have with customers. All of this multi-tool coordination, that's what Cowork can do for you. And so the different mental model for how to use these agents is going from the way people mostly use chat, OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, doesn't matter, is more like a better Google search, right? You can ask a question and like give you great answers, and that's also amazing and has been a big part of the hype. But I think it's this switch from just using it as a research tool to actually doing things for you, drafting emails, scheduling things in your calendar, creating issues on Linear, updating HubSpot properties. that for us within Luminovo has been a huge unlock of productivity. To the point, this is the last thing about the general story, and then we'll get to what does that mean for Luminovo within the electronic supply chain. To the point that now, if you will get used to using such an agent like Cowork as your central knowledge work assistant connected to all your tools, you get so annoyed if one of your tools does not connect to it. And you have to do the old 2025 way of going into the browser, putting in the URL, clicking through 10 pages with your mouse button to get to that one page that has the one data point that you still need or just wanted to ask about. And I've noticed that we have a couple of tools that don't connect, and those tools are now on my list, the naughty list, where I'm like, okay, let's see if there's another tool that does connect, because we want to switch that out because it's blocking automation use cases for us where you can coordinate through these different things. And coming to Luminovo, the future of any type of knowledge work, but that includes the electronic supply chain, really. I think the tools that will survive are the ones that can do one of two things for you. One is giving this agent of yours easy access to domain-specific or proprietary data. In the electronic supply chain case, in Luminovo's case, that's of course things like, well, all the prices, availability, stock level, life cycle for millions of different components. Because that's still very hard, and you need to connect to all these different suppliers and getting all of that data into one place, which has always been Luminovo's strength. But today the strength has been in the clicky interface of going through 1,000 pages to look at that data. And where you really want to get is that you just prompt your agent and ask it, drop a bomb. It's like, clean this bomb, and then make a few different sourcing scenarios for me, check where are the biggest problems, both for lead times or prices, what should I double check? So you just talk with it. And if you have that easy access to all that data that you need to make these decisions, then these agents are getting so smart that they can do the thinking for you and do a lot of these decisions. So that's kind of the one thing, that tools that you will still happily pay for in the future, if it can do that for it. The second thing is not just access to data, but actually actions in the real world, such as in the supply chain space, that will be actually negotiating, sending out a quote request with an email to one of your suppliers to get back a new, better price. Or we just very recently launched, or are in the process of launching, a new add-on called Supplier Relationship Management, SRM, which allows you to create questionnaires that you then need to fill out, that your suppliers need to fill out, and you automate this whole process of sending out those questionnaires, getting back the certificates, updated billing address, and all of these things. And that's also an action in the real world, actually, this onboarding a new supplier, right? Because it's not just go get access to some existing data, but you need to send out that questionnaire, collect that data. And it's these two things. So kind of these actions in the real world, like negotiating, onboarding a supplier, as well as getting easy access to that data that you've collected. That I think is that type of software that you'll pay for. And I see a great, exciting space for Luminovo, specifically in the electronic supply chain, for us to be that first tool that once people really get used, and everyone knows Cowork and has gotten used to using these central agents, that they'll be desperately searching for that tool, because they don't want to click around, so they just want to connect that tool that gives them all the supply chain data that they need to make their decisions around sourcing and purchasing and choosing suppliers. And that's, for me, the future of Luminovo's product strategy, but applies just as much. This is, I guess, where we're journey to all the other tools and processes that you do. And I promise you, once you get used to using something like Cowork, it gets so annoying.
You make a good point for both how quickly this is all evolving, but at the same time, how spoiled we've become by it, right? It makes its life so much easier.
And you get lazy, and 100%.
The good and the bad, I guess, right? So oh, that's fascinating. Listen, I wanted to ask you another question. That was great, by the way. You're going to have me go back and look up the site, because to me, I've used them, but I've asked one prompt at a time, right? Do this, and then it does something, and then I say, okay, this, right? So that you can just say da 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 da, and give it that whole series of requests.
And you can write They're called skills in Cloud Cowork, but it's basically a markdown file of text where you write these instructions, and if it's a task you do repeatedly, automating it is as easy as writing down the text of what you wanted to do, and then you can apply it again.
Again, making it so easy. So the flip side to all this is I wanted to ask you too, as you can tell, he knows what he's talking about, where it goes with AI. So I wanted to ask the flip side. What is one aspect of this whole AI wave or the AI hype that we're all living through here that you think will disappoint in the next couple of years? Because there's always something with all the big buildups. So you go to Industry 4.0 with all the right, everything. There were elements that just didn't work and disappointed people with the expectations. What do you think that might be?
So, really interesting question. I think what it's not going to be is the intelligence part. So here I'm an AI-pilled, bullish person that I just think really any type of human knowledge work a human does today will be able to be set up and automated by an AI. In theory, because I think the thing that today, I notice it myself within Luminovo, how we adopt things, but kind of the bad awakening that you'll have on some fronts is cost and kind of token usage. Token is the fundamental element in these LLM large language models that you pay for. And even though you could, in theory, like automate it all, I think you'll run more and more in certain use cases where you just realize it's actually not worth the tokens and the energy to do it in such a computing intensive way for things that are maybe actually a dumb rule could also do. And so a thing I'm observing now is that obviously even for there's these really complex use cases where it's like, well, understand the transcript, understand this context in a call where they're perfect for large language models. And as you go out and like adopt it and it's so easy and you get lazy, you become more and more that you do that for almost anything, that you do any type of decision and you become lazy, but you'll have this bad awakening, I think at some point, that also cost becomes a factor because you don't always want to go with this like really heavy weapon approach for a very simple problem. And I think looking a little bit further ahead, I think the next year will be the year of just adopting these central agents where something like Cowork, which by the way, Microsoft announced 5 days ago a collaboration with Anthropic to roll out Cowork within Microsoft Copilot.
Oh, interesting.
Which has moved the adoption timelines of what I was predicting or talking with my other founder friends ahead by like 2 years. Because like,
oh really?
Because I just think once Microsoft has rolled it out, a lot of our customers use Copilot. Once Cowork is just natively there, they'll be much more faster to try it and have something like that. And while this year I think will be all about rolling it out. Maybe 2027 already, latest 2028, I think will be a consolidation around looking out for token efficiency and cost. So just like today, when you buy your car, suddenly what is its fuel efficiency becomes an actual purchasing criteria.
You're right.
I think there will be a future. So maybe that kind of answers your question, because to some degree, I think the disappointment comes within like, well, we have this amazing intelligence now that can do everything for me, but actually it's not worth it to have it do everything for you. And that'll be like the disappointment. That then tools will probably start advertising their token efficiency. And you might end up choosing that software instead of that because it's more token efficient and can do what you need it to do like cheaper. And I think that's the fundamental, not just for supply chain software, but fundamental shift you'll see with software. Even a year ago, but 10 years ago, building software was a very, very complex process. That's why software businesses have huge gross margins of like 90% on their operating costs, which made them very, very different from manufacturing businesses with very different gross margins. And the reason is because the differentiator was in building the software. This differentiator is disappearing with how AI just makes it so easy. So software is becoming commoditized to some degree. And the fundamental element of running software will come down to its energy use, which I think will greatly change for a lot of software businesses that don't have this proprietary data-specific advantage or a network effect of a network that is just very valuable. They'll see the value that they bring is not in coding the software, it'll be in running it. And once you're in running it, not building it, well, then it comes to token efficiency, energy efficiency. And in like 10 years' time, it'll be normal. It'll feel normal to us that like, software isn't anything special
Yeah.
in that sense. It's just, well, what is the most fuel efficient car? What's the most token
Right,
efficient
right.
software? I'll buy that if it also adheres to the quality levels that I want.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we're going to check back in a
Yeah.
year or two and see what your prediction comes true or not.
Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. I'm going to have to think about that and observe that, because that's, yeah. I mean, but it makes the point again. This is moving and evolving just everywhere so quickly.
And again, maybe some examples like from the trenches at Luminovo right now. Because for me, I've been thinking about this a lot in the last couple of weeks. Wrote a big internal memo with our product strategy of how we need to skate where the puck is going to make sure that once people do adopt these central agents, even if they're not aware of them yet, that we're ready, that we'll be that tool that you want to adopt and kick out your other tools, because Luminovo is the one with the best connector to Cloud Cowork. We're starting to build these first use cases right now. There's some low-hanging fruits. I mentioned the SRM module before, the supplier relationship management. When we were demoing this to people right now, the first thing that you do as well, here's my Microsoft Word document with the questionnaire that I'm currently sending out. Like, how would that work in Luminovo? And we go in and we clicked, built the questionnaire in like a little UI, with a bunch of buttons to set up that questionnaire with the branching logic. If he answered this question with yes, ask those 3 more questions. And it's nice because in the end, software automates for you, but it's also really annoying to spend an hour setting that up. We built the first MCP connector, which is a prototype after I wrote that into a memo that some of my engineers just jumped on, that you can now just drop in the Microsoft Word document to Cowork, tell it like, hey, create this questionnaire in Luminovo, and then it runs for 5 minutes, it reads in the Word document, it's smart, right? It does the thinking for you of what type of questions to actually take out of that Word questionnaire, how to set it up. 5 minutes later, you get a link, click on it, and you see it in Luminovo, created that questionnaire. So this whole onboarding experience becomes like really magical and very fast. And this is a very, in the grand scheme of things, specific low value step in everything you need to do within Luminovo. But we already got that working last week, and it got me so excited because I think this is the future of how a lot of the usage looks like. So if you think a little bit further ahead, and that's what we're working on now to see what we need to change and how with the software we've built so far, is that what you'd want to get to is that you're in Cowork or ChatGPT or something, and you just drop in a bomb, and you tell it like, hey, here's my Excel field, like, please clean it with Luminovo, and then like source it because I need to get a prototype for 10 of these boards, and next year maybe 10,000. Just do it, and all you just have to drop it in, and then it runs through Luminovo, uses our bomb importer to clean the bomb, uses all the data that we have for sourcing, maybe your pre-configured settings that you do store in Luminovo, but that the interface moves away from you just clicking through Luminovo all the time to being in something like Cowork, where you just drop in Excels that you get from customers and just tell it what you want to do. Because it's this experience, just telling it what you want to do, and the AI figuring out with the data and these actions that we provide for it, what good choices are and what suggestions are, that I'm very excited about for the future of Luminovo specifically, of course, but I think the electronic supply chain space, generally speaking.
That's excellent. You know, before we started the interview, you said, you know, I had to rein you in because you could talk for hours on this.
And now it's time to rein me in.
Now I'm going to rein you in.
Yes.
No, this is fascinating. That's why I love talking about you and Seba too, right? Because they both, you have a way of conceptualizing and making the complex kind of understandable to, you know, people like myself who don't have the background in the training or you know, are pursuing that. So I always appreciate this. So thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest.
Well, I'm glad, you know. Well, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.